Hello, and welcome to A Deeper PTE. Here we allow ourselves to explore the far out, the unproven, the religious, spiritual, and controversial. We also go more in depth on topics not suited for the main channel. The majority of this channel's content is based in opinion, speculation, and theory, not necessarily facts. Nothing presented should be construed as legal or medical advice. Always consult with your physician for all health and medical decisions. And finally, please do your own reading and research and come to your own fact based conclusions. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. All right, good morning, everybody. Hello, and welcome to the show. Today is Thursday, December 9th, 2021, and you are now watching A Deeper PTE. I'm your host, PTE, also known as Permission to Exist, and we are going to have a very interesting discussion this morning. I'm chuckling because I was just chatting and in the chat, laughing about the fact that my whole life I thought I was not an early bird, and I'm really not. However, if I wake up around like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, then I can carry that through to like 10 or 11 a.m. even. Might even hit noon. You never know. But after that, I'm wiped completely out. And then I go to sleep for real. So my sleep pattern is all jacked up, you guys. Y'all know that though. We're going to do a sleep show one day because maybe you guys can share insights on how you get your sleep and how it works out for you. One of my doctors told me it's because I think too much. And I was like, Doc, how did you know? I don't think it's that. I'm very, like, I can hear everything. I'm very jumpy. So it's like I just cannot settle down into that deep, comatose sleep until I've worn myself completely out. Anyway, welcome everyone. Welcome to the show. It is so good to have you. So, very interesting conversation we're going to have this morning. It's funny, I don't know if we should count this as a prediction or not, but those of you who were on the stream, overturn Roe versus Wade, and this will be the outcome. We talked about this. We talked about this toward the end of the stream. And I was basically saying, we're not far away from them saying, look, we need people. We need people. We need a workforce. The workforce drives the economy. And we're going to need you to have kids like now so they can start producing anywhere between 16, 18 to 20 years from now. And I was speculating that, yes, indeed, they could actually force that if they wanted to. They're already practicing this force on us. Okay. So that's kind of where we left it on that particular stream. And then, man, my days are blending. Ooh, was it yesterday or early this morning? When did I make that post? Whenever I made that post on the community tab is when I saw the article from Elon Musk, which mysteriously, by the way, has no date on it. And I looked twice. And this article that I'm going to share with you has no date on it at all. And I just think that's interesting because that's the second article in a very short time frame that had no date on it. And y'all know where that's taken me. Like, so y'all are trying to wipe out dates now. So we won't know when things were published, when they were said. They had already started with the whole published 13 hours ago, published 2 days ago, kind of specific, but not really. Now they're just leaving it off altogether. But anyway, we were talking about the possibility of them essentially forcing women to have kids in order to solve the public health crisis of there not being enough people. And even in that chat, someone said, this is the handmaid's tale. Now, over the years, many, many people have told me, PTE, you have to see the handmaid's tale. You must. And I still have not seen it, you guys. Still to this day, have not seen the handmaid's tale. But I did look up the premise. So before I get too far ahead of myself, why don't we do this? So since I was up early this morning, I did a little pre-recording. So why don't we watch this together and then we'll talk a little bit more. is going to crumble if people don't have more children. Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk wants people to have more babies. There are not enough people, Musk told a Wall Street Journal event Monday. I can't emphasize this enough. There are not enough people, he said. The tech billionaire said low and rapidly declining birth rates are one of the biggest risks to civilization. His comments come as a growing number of people are deciding not to have children, citing concerns such as climate change and inequality. Musk added that too many good, smart people think there are too many people in the world and that the population is growing out of control. It's completely the opposite, Musk said, urging people to look at the data. If people don't have more children, civilization is going to crumble. Mark my words. When asked if this is why he has so many children, the father of six said he's trying to set a good example, adding that he has to practice what he preaches. Analysts at Morgan Stanley said in a note to investors in July that the movement to not have children, owing to fears over climate change, is growing and impacting fertility rates quicker than any preceding trend in the field of fertility decline. To support their argument, they pointed to surveys, academic research, and Google data that shows climate change is directly and indirectly accelerating the decline in fertility rates. UCLA researchers have shown that the number of births in the U.S. fell in the 9 months following an extreme heat event, while a study of 18,000 couples in China last year showed that climate change, and particulate pollution specifically, was associated with a 20% increased likelihood of infertility. Of course, if everyone stopped having children, then humanity would eventually cease to exist. A fringe group of antinatalists believe that's exactly what should happen, but most people don't share this view. Indeed, many people see having children as a fundamental human right and one that can bring happiness and joy to families. So I love how that article starts off all doom and gloom and ends up super happy and easy peasy. I'm like, y'all are just going to leave us right there? That was published in CNBC, by the way, with no date. So I don't actually know what date that came out, but I saw it either yesterday or early this morning. So it was either the 8th or the 9th. But I found it very interesting. And it made me think of something else that I actually saw on YouTube. So I'm going to pull that up here and show that to you. And when I saw this, it's okay, puppy. It's when I saw this, it made me feel like we're in the middle of some kind of movement. We got to be. We've got to be in the middle of some type of movement. By the way, I think my dog is getting ready to go nuts. I don't know what she sees. I don't see anything, but she sees something. I think she sees her own reflection. Bless her little heart. And her bark is very loud. And it comes out of nowhere. So I just want to apologize in advance for your ears getting blown out and for you getting startled at some point, probably during the show. Okay. And if she starts to go too crazy, I'll just mute and we'll just take an intermission. So this content creator is named Allie Beth Stuckey. Now, I don't know much about Allie Beth other than she and I are on the same page regarding the whole vaccine issue, okay? That's how I discovered her. That's how I came across her channel. And really have only watched her videos on that topic. Well, of course, if you watch anything on YouTube, it's going to then start recommending that creator's content to you. So this was a community post that she made 2 days ago, which super specific. Thanks, YouTube. And she said, if you are married and can have kids, do it. Don't wait until your life is perfect. It never will be. Don't wait until you've reached some arbitrary career goal. Don't be paralyzed by unknowns. The world needs kind, wise, and strong people. Raise them. Okay? Like I honestly I could do a whole show on this alone. And if you guys want me to, let me know. So at risk of doing that, I'm not going to comment heavily on the content of this post because honestly, I could do a 2-hour show on this alone. The reason I wanted to show it to you was because I'm like, this is strange. So this was 2 days ago. Then it's followed up by Elon Musk coming out and saying civilization will crumble if you don't have kids, which, by the way, I had no idea. I had no idea, number one, Elon Musk had kids, and number two, that he had six of them. Okay? No idea. So that was news to me. And it makes me laugh because I'm like, when were you doing all that? How come we've never seen them before? I guess he just doesn't bring them out in public. He may not believe in that, which is understandable these days, but I had no idea the man had six kids. So anyway, man, I am so tempted to break down this whole thing because she's basically saying no matter your financial circumstances, no matter where you live, no matter how stable your relationship or your marriage actually is, just go ahead and have kids because the world needs them. That seems to be the theme coming out of these messages. Just do it. No matter what, just do it because the world needs them. Oh, I feel it. Okay. I've just decided we're going to end up doing a show on this because I need to vent on this. I'm not against, as I've said many times, babies, marriage, childbirth. I think all of those things are beautiful when done healthily, properly, and correctly. I think part of the reason we're having so many problems today is because people did exactly this. They just ran out and did it without thinking, without planning, without running any numbers. And then they spend their whole kids' lives trying to make up for the fact that they really made an ill-planned decision. Okay, let me move off of this because this whole entire thing will become about this. Okay, so I'm going to move off of that. Again, the point of me showing you that was to show you this strange movement, it feels like. So we have Roe versus Wade under threat, which I personally believe they are going to overturn for many reasons, but this is one of them. They want and need your kids, period. Yes, they need some of them to go on and become doctors and lawyers and politicians and all that. But primarily, they need your kids to staff these grocery stores, staff these fast food establishments, staff these call centers. That's what they need them for. It's okay, mommy. It's okay. As much as they don't make very good plans, sometimes they do attempt to plan out into the future and they look very far down the road. So, for example, picture being an executive who you know your job is secure. You know that you wouldn't get fired even if you killed a man right in front of the executive board. They would say, well, you know what? He was having a really bad day. And, that guy was being really negative. He was. Yeah, he was being really negative. So I kind of understand why he lashed out like that. So, we just decided to send him to counseling for a few days and bring him on back. That kind of safe is what I mean with your job. Like your job is super safe. So if you're 45 years old in a super safe executive job, you're looking 20 years down the road because you probably don't plan on retiring till you're somewhere near your 60s. So in those 20 years, you're looking at, okay, well, where is this workforce going to come from that I'm going to command in 20 years? And they're running the numbers and they already see that the numbers are not there. Okay. And they've known this for a while. This is not new information. However, I think it just became really, really critical because I think they understand after everything that happened these past 2 years that their workforce is not ready, willing, and able like they want them to be. And that's your fault, but that's a different show. Anyway, it made me feel like we're in the middle of some sort of very, very strange movement. Okay. So now, Handmaid's Tale. Again, I've never actually seen it, never watched it before. So I decided to just at least look up the plot. So so I would know what it was about. And so here's what I found. It says a religion based autocracy has taken over most of the United States, renaming the country Gilead. In this country, women are second class citizens. Anyone trying to escape is punished. One such person is June, who is captured while trying to escape with her husband and child and is sentenced to be a handmaid, bearing children for childless government officials. As a handmaid, June is renamed Offred, and this is her story. And then another one said, The Handmaid's Tale is the story of life in the dystopia of Gilead, a totalitarian society, in what was the United States. Gilead is ruled by a fundamentalist regime that treats women as property of the state and is faced with environmental disasters and a plummeting birth rate. In a desperate attempt to repopulate a devastated world, the few remaining fertile women are forced into sexual servitude. One of these women, Offred, is determined to survive the terrifying world she lives in and find the daughter that was taken from her. And then here's one more. It says, posterior to a worldwide fertility crisis, an extremist theocratic religious organization takes control of the United States government, suspending the Constitution and forcing women into state sanctioned RAPE. Separated from her daughter and her husband, protagonist June Osborne must learn to survive in this oppressive regime. Okay. And as I read those summaries, I was like, oh my God. I was like, that just feels all way too familiar. Absolutely. Chat says, PTE, all I can say is look at God. These tables are turning and turning fast. Nothing goes unseen. The past, present, and future are all one. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. So as I read through these summaries, I said, well, number one, I see why everybody wanted me to watch The Handmaid's Tale. I just haven't had time. I don't have time to sit down and sit still somewhere and devote to a show until Dexter comes back out, which I think it did. Oh my gosh. Suddenly I have time. Look at that. You see that? That's terrible. All of a sudden I have time now. I think Dexter came back in November, so I'm late. They have not done a very good job promoting that show. So if Dexter's back out, suddenly I got the time. But even just thinking about sitting and just watching something and not doing something else gives me anxiety. But anyway, I think I need to practice that though. But anyway, I'm like, man, suspending the Constitution, forcing women, what else? Property of the state, environmental disasters, plummeting birth rate. I was like, are these shows like, they call them predictive programming, but honestly, I think they're just announcements. They're just like church announcements. Like they're just letting you know, like, hey, this is what's coming down the pipe, guys, which is what they say is predictive programming. But the word predict to me implies an element of uncertainty. This all seems pretty sure. It's just a matter of time catching up. These are church announcements. So anyway, that is the plot of The Handmaid's Tale, which I should check it out or at least read the book or something. So then it made me think of a comment that got left on a very recent video. And it all started to become very, very clear to me. So this comment, I did cover up their name, but I left their logo. It said, so this is from the video, New York ain't what it used to be. General haircut update 12/7/21. And in that video, I asked the question, what did I miss about these people? How come I didn't see this? Like, I thought these were the cool people, like I love New Yorkers. And now I'm curious and I'm questioning My love for New Yorkers, but I really do. Like, pretty much any New Yorker, a certified New Yorker that I've ever run across, I've liked and gotten along with. And I'm not saying all New Yorkers are narcs because of this silly little rule your soon to be not governor or mayor passed, but it's in the context of the question, why did I think the coolest people on earth are now people that I'm actually afraid of? That was pretty much the question. Why do people that I thought were pretty cool and that I liked am I now suddenly afraid of? So here's an answer. And I just thought it was so good, I wanted to share. It says, they are not all ill intent, but the reason you suddenly find concern with people who think this way is because they are statists who believe in authority, i.e., the state declaring what is right through might, i.e., force. So basically, what this person is saying is you didn't realize that they were statists all along. You see what I mean? Meaning that if it came down to it, they're totally fine with the government using force on you for something. All right. And then I was trying to see if there's another definition. Statist. Maybe I'm spelling it wrong. No, here we go. Statist. An advocate of a political system in which the state has substantial centralized control over social and economic affairs. And then I think this comment took it a step further and just made it real simple for me, which I appreciate it. I like it when y'all actually explain things in a way that I can understand, okay? I like that. Do that. He said there's statists who believe in authority, meaning the state declaring what is right through force. So not necessarily that you're breaking laws or anything. Well, hypothetically, you're not like a criminal. However, if the state changes its mind on a certain law, you support the state using force to bring that law or to fulfill that law, basically. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I think this is correct. I really do think that this is right. Like their status. And then I was thinking about it some more after I read this comment, and I was like, how come I didn't know that? And I thought about it and I was like, no situation and no circumstance in the past has ever required me to find that out. Because there has literally been not at least any that I can think of, a situation or circumstance in the past that would have brought this out of them. Or at least I didn't notice. You see what I mean? So this is the first time it's ever truly been tested, and that's when it came out. So that actually brings me to another comment that I wanted to highlight that's kind of similar on the same video. It says, congrats on your sub count. Thank you. I don't know how long it'll last because every time someone notices, it's like, oh, let me run and unsubscribe real quick. Do y'all know the last show we did, we were sitting on 1,000 the whole entire time. Then someone in the chat, and I knew it, I just didn't want to say anything because I just knew, I just knew and know how petty people are towards me. So someone in the chat brought it up, and it's almost, and that tells me how kind of evil some of the people who watch me are, because they literally didn't notice until the person in the chat mentioned it, and then they went and unsubscribed and dropped me to $9.99. So the karmic retribution headed your way is something serious. You sat here and watched this whole show and the live chat. And when the person was like, congrats on 1K, you went and unsubscribed. You hateful. You got a special kind of evil residing in you. You do. But anyway, it'll go back up. So I'm not particularly worried about it, but I think we're still there, at least right now. But after I say this, watch it drop. It's kind of hilarious. Hey, it went up. Uh-oh. Okay. I like that. Things are looking up. I mean, how hateful can you be? They literally hung in there until $9.99-ish, 1,000-ish, and just waited to pull the plug right there at the edge. You hateful. You real hateful. Well, that's cool, though. Karma's coming. Don't worry. Anywho, Says, congrats on your sub count. Thank you so much. Says, I have a thought on your question. Were they always like that? I think so. I have a very small circle of friends I love more than family. Some I've known for 50 years. I've lost them all pretty much, although some are still talking but barely. It seems they were always on the other side of the fence we didn't know was there. So shout out to the viewer that left this comment. I've been thinking about your comment too ever since I saw it. So when you combine what we just looked at, which is that they're people, they're statists who believe in authority or force for the state to enforce what's right, mixed with this comment of it seems they were always on the other side of the fence that we didn't know was there. I was like, oh my God. Like the visual was so powerful for me, like my whole entire life. Like the fence has always been there. We just didn't see it. Maybe the gaps were too big in between. You know, those fences that have really, really large gaps in between, like you can walk through them basically. Maybe the gaps in between the fence were so large, we couldn't see the fence until we backed up. And it was like, oh, there's a fence there. How long has that fence been there? Fence has always been there, huh? Wow. Okay. So I just thought this was so powerful. Like it really made me think, it just really brought it home for me. Like your whole life, the whole reason you birthed a channel named Permission to Exist is because you've been around people who didn't believe in permission to exist. They didn't believe in choice. They didn't believe in freedom. And it comes out in all kinds of different ways. And you felt that, you knew it. You just didn't necessarily know what to call it. I mean, we know they're narcissists. We know that for sure. But, you know, when we list out the traits and qualities of these people, these narcs, you know, there's a fence in between us. There absolutely is. And they were always on the other side of it. We just didn't know the fence was there. And they've always, always believed in force to get their way. If you think about it, like think about what the narcissist does when it gets mad or when you tell it no or anything like that. Usually it rages out, gets loud, you know, big, scary, or it'll storm out of the room, give you the silent treatment. What is all of that? All of that is force. That's all force. You see? So anyway, I wanted to make sure I shared these with you in the context of the conversation that we're about to have. So I think that's actually it for the visuals. So if you're just listening, I'll just be chit-chatting from here on out for the rest of the show, okay? So welcome to everyone in the chat. It's great to have you. Shout out to the US Senate, by the way, who basically told Brandon to go home and eat some milk and cookies, that he's tripping with all these mandates. So we'll definitely be covering that the next time we do an update. But it's falling apart fast. It's collapsing. Okay. Man, we gotta talk. We gotta talk about that. All right. So let's talk about how all of this is making me feel. So far, we read through the article that Elon Musk said that civilization is going to crumble if y'all don't start having kids. We looked at I keep wanting to call it a tweet, but it's not a tweet. It was a community post by Allie Beth Stuckey, who's basically telling everyone, if you're married and you can have kids, just do it. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't plan. It'll never be the right time. Just do it, right? Coming from someone who probably is very, very rich, you guys. Again, I don't know anything about this girl other than she identifies as conservative, and she's very much against all these mandates, pretty much like I am. But that's all I know. Like, I don't know where she's coming from, who she is, like if she was already famous. But based on her production levels, I'm going to go ahead and say you got some money, girl. So that's coming from someone who's secure, has money, married, husband probably has a good job, living in a nice neighborhood with great schools, telling you to run out and have kids. Anyway, I'll have to do a separate show on that, separate show. We talked about that. We recapped the plot of The Handmaid's Tale, which essentially is, if I had to boil it down, Society collapsed, and they turned to the fertile women that were left to repopulate the earth. So that kind of leads me to my first thought. I feel like this could go one of two ways. So, the first way that it can go is if nothing catastrophic happens. So, if nothing catastrophic happens, essentially what they're going to do is they're going to let the touch wind down until nobody cares anymore, until they can't get any buy in anymore for COVID, basically. And I think we're already there. I think we're actually already halfway there, even with the Omicron on the horizon and, running wild all across the country. I think people just are like, yeah, okay, whatever, guys. So as that winds down, what we'll start to see are a series of meetings like at the WHO, the World Health Organization. We'll start to see different conferences. Like, I feel like Elon's article was the first of some drip, basically. Like, he's starting the conversation about how many babies there are or are not, and where we're headed if we don't quickly repopulate, which is so bizarre. And I think someone left this on the community post where they were basically saying it's weird how, on the one hand, it seems like they're trying to depopulate us, but on the other hand, they're saying there's not enough of us. So it is kind of weird, and I haven't figured out which one it is either. But if I had to guess, see, it's hard to say because sometimes I do feel like they're trying to depopulate us, but then other times I think to myself, they need customers. They need customers. Think about it like this. For every man and woman who does not have a child, you are one less person buying diapers, baby formula, baby clothes, strollers, cribs, blankets, bottles, bottle cleaners, wipes. You understand what I'm saying? You're one less person purchasing all of those things. So when you take that and multiply it by the millions, like, they are missing your cash flow. Being the good auntie or the good uncle is not good enough. They need you to be a full-fledged participant. Do you understand? So anyway, we're still on scenario one. So scenario one, nothing catastrophic has happened. All right. So after all these meetings with the CDC and the FDA and the WHO and all them, the outcome of that is going to be, we have to outlaw abortion and probably, maybe, possibly birth control, because we can't afford to not have not one single person be born. We need every human life to be born because we're at a great shortage, right? I wonder what they'll call that. The great human shortage, the great deficit, something like that. They'll give it a cute nickname. They love to nickname things and then make it a movement and like make it trendy. So it'll be like the great shortage, okay? Out of stock. I don't know. Anyway, once they outlaw abortion and birth control and things like that and totally normalize it, then the incentive plans will start. And just like it started with the whole haircut situation, it's going to start off friendly and fun and appealing. I mean, in a way, they already have started. Didn't the federal government, or isn't the federal government sending all parents money right now? Aren't all parents getting money right now? And it's like some weird tax advance or something. I don't know. I don't know why they just can't do things in a straightforward manner. Why they can't just cut the check, honey. Why do you have to make it all, this is an advanced tax loop of your future forward down payment on your house, car note? I'm like, what? Like, you can barely even say it. You can barely even read it straight through without stumbling. But anyway, I think it's like the child tax credit, but they're prepaying it. I don't know. But I think that's kind of like warming us up for the idea, which, by the way, I'm not against. I know a lot of people are, they get very hung up on where all this money is going to come from. But I noticed they got plenty of money to go to the moon. They got plenty of money to send billionaires to space for 5 minutes and bring them back. They got plenty of money to wage war here, there, and everywhere. They got plenty of money. But when it comes to stuff like this, all of a sudden we're broke. So, anyway, we're not here to discuss that. I I just fundamentally understand that if you take good care of children, the odds of you having at least a decent society are higher. So I'm not against making sure the kids are okay. Now, do the kids need Apple Watches and iPhones and all that? No, I consider those luxuries. You know what I mean? But making sure that kid can eat well, has a clean home, safe home, not stressed, not always packing up their little stuff and moving here, moving there, moving here, and moving there. Like I'm all right with that. It doesn't bother me. We'll get into that discussion another day, though. So the incentives will start, and they'll be nice too. It'll be like $10,000 tax free for your first live birth. You know, and you can like sign up for the program or whatever. And then I know this sounds crazy or whatever, but y'all know how these predictions come through. They come through when I'm joking. I wouldn't be surprised if the federal government set up some sort of like match.com, but for pregnancy, but for federal breeding purposes. So basically you have to apply. You can't just be some random off the street. You have to apply, show that you already don't have any kids. They'll put you through a questionnaire very similar to your little tenders and things like that. And the purpose of this app will basically be to help match you up to someone who you can form a child with on behalf of the federal government, right? Then once you find somebody, like y'all go on reserve, right? And you try to make it work for like 90 days. And if it takes off, it takes off. Congratulations. And if it doesn't, well, you can go back in the pool if you want to. You can try it, keep trying with that person, whatever. And then if you're successful, the government will incentivize that and they'll support you through pregnancy. They'll pay all your bills, all your doctor bills and things. They might even kick in a little for dad. Dad won't have to worry about child support necessarily if he goes through the government program. And basically, I can't. Basically, these kids will be very well taken care of by the federal government. They'll have nothing bad to say. And it'll be totally normal to be matched up that way and like bring about kids. Like, man. Anyway, the point is they're going to incentivize it at first. At first. And that will last for a little while, I think. The incentivization period will last probably for about a year or two. And the reason is because they got to give the women time to find their match, procreate, get pregnant, have the baby, and say positive things about the program. Because if you only offer incentives for 3 months, that's barely enough time to get pregnant and even know you're pregnant. So that part is going to last for a little while, like 2 or 3 years, okay? And the incentives will be kind of sweet. They'll be kind of almost irresistible. There'll be outlash and backlash because people will basically be saying, how can y'all turn these kids into commodities essentially? How can y'all pay these women and men, for the men who choose to stick around, because they'll have that option in this program to either stay and raise the kid or not. But you're totally incentivizing them. These women are driving Ferraris, they're buying luxury condos with all this money. They're taking good care of the kids, but they're living the high life. And the government's response will essentially be, well, we really need them to have kids. So, if they buy a few nice things for themselves here and there, so be it. If you guys will recall, a couple of months ago, Kanye West was doing some interview, and he said if he was president, he would give every new mother $1 million. So these conversations are happening behind the scenes. Chat says treated like pure blood horses. Absolutely. Or purebred, rather. Yep. Absolutely. And it'll be highly incentivized, highly funded, and that will last for a little while, at least 2 or 3 years. You got to get people on board. You got to get them to sign up. You got to get them pregnant. They'll, God, the TikTok stories. If TikTok is still around, probably will be. You know, it'll be like, hey, everybody, I'm carrying the first government baby. Do, 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 do. One, got pregnant in March. Do, 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 do. Two, due in December. Do, 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 do. Three, what will it be? Do, 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 do. Four, I'm going to have some more. Do, 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 do. Then there'll be like a jump cut picture of her in the hospital bed, and then a picture of her holding the baby, and it'll be like a caption above her head that says first government baby, you know, and maybe she'll name it after whoever the president is at the time. Okay. And it'll be cute and fun, and there'll be communities and support groups, because it'll be a very unusual group of parents. It'll be a group of parents who basically either weren't planning on or just hadn't yet had kids and basically just forced it through, because the government asked them to. That is a very unique cohort. So there'll be support groups, discounts, especially at places like Six Flags, Disney World, you name it. Any kid related or theme park related activities, heavy discounts. You might even get in for free. They might even incentivize like food. Like you don't have to pay for food for, the first 10 years or something, because that's how important it will be to them, you guys. That's how important it'll be, that they'll be willing to shell out that kind of cash for citizens, basically. They're basically paying you for your eggs, basically. All right. Now, after the incentivization phase has passed, then the force phase begins, okay? And that's kind of where the Handmaid's Tale elements of all this come in. And the way that I envision it going down will be something like, well, first of all, we've already told on ourselves. Let's start there. Here in the States, anyway. I'm not sure how they do it internationally. But here in the States, we've already told on ourselves, if you've ever filled out a tax form and you've answered that question many different times in many different ways. Do you have any dependents? Do you have any dependents? How many dependents are in your household under the age of 5? Do you have any dependents? Any dependents? Do you have any dependents? Hey, any dependents do you have? We've answered that question a million times on insurance forms, health checking in with the doctor, tax forms, tax related forms. You've answered that question a million times. So for the most part, they already know whether or not you have kids, for the most part. And I believe the hospitals keep record of every birth, or they're supposed to be anyway. So because they already know whether or not you've had a baby, and they already know how old you are, and they probably already know your health status, they just don't tell you that they do, you're going to get a phone call. You're going to start to get a couple phone calls, couple emails, and they're basically going to contact all the women who have reported no children over the past few years to come in for fertility testing. And they are going to just start testing the women who've had no children to see who's viable, who can have a baby, right? And I do believe they will exclude, though, women who've had 4 or more children. And I'll tell you why 4 or more. Because 2 replaces she and the man that she made them with. Three adds just one more to the pot, which is not technically growth. Like it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. So two is even Steven. So you haven't done anything. You just kept the balance. There was no loss, basically. If you have three children, you've technically added one to the pot, but if you've had four, you have now grown the population. So women who've had four or more children will be excluded because in their eyes, you've done your part. In their eyes, you've contributed to society. You've done your part. So you're finished. Okay. And then from there, and again, this is all futuristic, you guys. This is me making a prediction about the future and this time that we're in. After that, somehow that will become forced impregnation, birth, and parenthood, or you're going to get thrown in jail. Okay. Now you would say, PTE, that sounds so ridiculous. Come on. That's crazy. That's ridiculous. But look where we are right now, though. Look where we are in society right now. Right now, people are being denied their basic rights and freedoms just for saying no to a medical procedure, basically. And we never thought we would see days like this. We never thought no would not be an option. No, thank you is not an option. We never thought opting out would not be an option, but apparently it is. So when you start to hear all these millionaires talking about, society is going to crumble if we don't have more kids, and other high profile talking heads saying, hey, listen, just go ahead and have your baby. Just do it. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're deeply in debt. Just do it. Doesn't matter if you live in a bad neighborhood. Just do it. Doesn't matter if your school district is trash. Just do it. Yeah, just have your babies. Just do it. You'll make it work. You'll find a way. Like, how many kids had to grow up with parents who were always having to find a way, always having to find a way, may not have been able to have a Christmas every year. Like, there are some of you who can't imagine that. You cannot imagine not having a Christmas every year. But there's people who grew up like that because their parents always had to find a way. You know what I mean? And I know we can't perfectly plan these things, but I think that's reckless. That's so reckless. But anyway, I just need to do that video. So that is if there's no catastrophe. Okay. So now if there's a catastrophe, this all changes. So as COVID winds down and people, are no longer bought in, some catastrophe takes place. What catastrophe that is, I'm not sure, but it's devastating. Devastating enough to impact the population of the planet, basically. And again, I know this all sounds sci-fi, but again, you are on a deeper PTE, so welcome. So it impacts the population of the planet. All of this other stuff happens way faster and there are no incentives. The incentive portion pretty much gets cut in half. Okay. Again, I know this all sounds crazy and sounds impossible, but y'all, I feel it so strongly. I feel it like it's a certainty. And I feel the order that they're going to roll it out in is first, they're going to get rid of Roe v. Wade, which most of the states, with the exception of, I think, California, has already said they're going to be an abortion refuge. And I was just like, wow, man. It just doesn't feel good. Like, again, I'm not anti-abortion, but like that doesn't feel good. Like, don't say it like that. That sounds so, I don't know. But they said they're going to be an abortion refuge. And I think New York is trying to be an abortion refuge too. It's just so strange. But these are the same places that have like the highest mandates for the haircut. Like, I feel like what they've been saying about liberals the whole time might be true. But anyway, so all this takes place. They get rid of Roe v. Wade first, wait like a year, and then they'll probably outlaw birth control. And the premise will be society will crumble without your kids. This is a public health crisis. Don't you understand? Can't you do math? Don't you see where this is going? But the biggest way that they're going to sell this to the general population is the same way that they sold the haircut. And that is, they are going to basically make you into like the worst person on planet Earth. They're going to say things to you like, how could you do this to us? You know that we need people. You're young, you're healthy, you have fertility. Don't you understand that you're being selfish right now? And basically, the same way that we've had to stand and justify our no in regard to the haircut, the same way that we've had to explain our health situation, even though we shouldn't have had to, we did explain our health situation, our life situation, you know what I mean? Different circumstances, basically all of our reasons. And the same way they dismissed all of those reasons will be the same way that they dismiss these. And they'll say things like, yeah, I hear you or whatever, but look, life is short, okay? And honestly, kids are the best thing. And you're young, and now's the time. And you're going to be a great mom or dad. You're going to be great. Don't worry about it. You have so much support. And you'd be like, yeah, but listen, I don't think kids are for me. I don't want children. You live in a society. What if everybody felt that way? If everyone didn't want kids, we literally would not have a society. Like, these are the conversations that will be had with people who will be totally on board with the idea of forcing women who don't have kids to have babies, because understand that the other way that this is going to be framed up is that, well, these are all just selfish whores. Don't you understand? They're just selfish whores who don't want to do their part and have kids. So it'll make it that much easier for them to try to force the idea, or they'll be that much more okay with the idea of force, is what I'm basically saying. That much more okay, because the government is great at hyping things up and making things scarier than they sometimes actually are. So, they'll come on and they'll bring Miss Worrywart on from the disco. They'll bring her on, Rochelle Walensky. They say, guys, we've been looking at the numbers and everything, and it's just really, really, really concerning, the trends and the direction that we're headed in. We don't know what else to say or what else to do to convince women that, this is beautiful, it's special, it's a wonderful thing to have a child, and I know lots of women want to be married and everything, but sometimes these things just can't be timed out. They just can't be planned out. Which, by the way, let's go back to something really quick, because this kind of speaks to the hypocrisy a little bit. Let me put this back up really quick. I think it's so interesting how she pre-qualifies the statement with, if you are married and can have kids, do it. And the reason she's saying is because the world needs kind, wise, and strong people. So raise them, right? So the automatic implication is that if you're not married, you're not going to raise kind, wise, and strong people. Now, I'm not saying I agree with that, but that's what's being implied in this statement. Why not just say, if you can have kids, do it? If you can have kids, do it. Don't wait until your life is perfect. And marriage would be part of a perfect life, right? So what if you're just waiting for marriage? Don't wait until your life is perfect. It never will be. Don't wait until you've reached some arbitrary career goal. Don't be paralyzed by unknowns, like who your husband will be. The world needs kind, wise, and strong people, so raise them. But my whole thing is, if we're at a deficit of people, what makes you think that they can't be raised by someone who's unmarried? I'm just making the argument. I'm not necessarily saying that's true. I'm just making the argument. But do you see what I'm saying? It's like a qualifier. If you're married, but if you're not married, please don't. kind of situation. But according to Elon, we need everybody we can get. We need all hands on deck. That's what he said. Elon said we need all hands on deck. So to me, that sounds like married or not, right? But how interesting though, right? But also, and I'm making an assumption here, but I'm going to go ahead and say that this is accurate. She's also anti-abortion. So what if somebody wants an abortion? Wait, what am I trying to set up here? She only wants married people to have kids. But what if somebody's unmarried, pregnant, and is considering an abortion? Well, she wouldn't want them to have the abortion, though. But they're having the abortion because they're trying to wait till their life is perfect, till they've reached some goals. They're paralyzed by unknowns. So they want to get the abortion, but you're anti-abortion. You see the loop? Do you see how it just goes in a loop? Anyway, I think I just need to do commentary on that comment because I clearly have a lot to say about it. Okay. So where was I in my thought process? I think that's pretty much everything, you guys. Not a super long show today, but just to do a quick summary for you, there seems to be some conversation going on at high levels regarding our population and its current numbers. According to Elon Musk, society will crumble if we don't get our numbers up. And there's other people with murmurings of, if you can have kids, just do it, which is one of the most irresponsible things I've ever heard somebody say. But anyway, it's strange to me. It's striking me as odd. And then, of course, the threat to Roe v. Wade, which seems like a moral argument, but in the context of everything that's going on, I honestly think they're trying to get their numbers up, basically. They're trying to get their numbers up. Let me see if there's any data. How many abortions in the United States last year? Let's see. Got some abortion statistics. Let's see. It says 18. This is on Guttmacher.org, the Guttmacher Institute. It says 18% of pregnancies, excluding miscarriages, in 2017 ended in abortion. It says approximately 862,320 abortions were performed in 2017, which was down 7% from 2014. The abortion rate in 2017 was 13.5 abortions per 1,000 women aged 15 to 44. And let's see here. These are all based on 2017 numbers, though. So anyway, my point is they want those heads. They want that head count, that 862,000. They need that head count, you guys. And keep this in mind, too. Don't ever forget this. They claim they want a peaceful society that's free of crime, right? That's what they claim, right? That's what they say. And it's probably what they think they want, too. But the truth of the matter is, without crime, you have no need for a police force, really. You have no need for jails. You have no need for bailiffs. No need for as many judges as you have. No need for as many lawyers as you have. What else? Who else? Bail bondsmen, parole officers. There's a whole industry centered around the unfortunate children who will grow up without guidance and create their own guidance and fall into trouble. There's basically a whole industry sitting around waiting for them. If all these kids start to grow up in healthy, strong families, these industries dissolve pretty much overnight, you guys. You could probably eliminate 3/4 of the jails, leave 25% of the jails just for those random freakouts that happen every now and then. But You could get rid of the majority of the jails. You wouldn't need as big of a police force. Like, really, really think about that. They need your kids. They need them to mass produce all these products. They need to be able to justify that. Do y'all remember when all the Toys R Us's closed in the United States? I think you can still buy toys online from Toys R Us, but all the storefronts closed because they basically said people aren't having enough babies to justify all these toys. So they are worried, you guys. They're very, very worried. They're concerned. Their concern should have started a long time ago, though, because people have known this for years now. They were talking about the birth rate quite heavily on YouTube a few years ago, then they stopped. But people were talking about the numbers dropping. Let me see if I can get some stats on that really quick. What is the current birth rate in the United States? Man. I mean, how do they really expect people to just be pumping out babies, though, in a society like this? Like, you got to get real, though. You really need to get serious. They act like everything is sweet. They act like everything is just all good and fully functional and ready to receive all these new people. It can barely receive the ones that it has now. Okay, this is like a long essay. All right, I don't want that. I just wanted some straightforward data. Okay, here we go. I found a chart. The United States is at 1.70 births per woman, and those are 2019 numbers. India is at 2.20 births per woman, and the United Kingdom is at 1.65 births per woman, so a little less than 2. And I have to assume they're not whole numbers because I assume they're accounting for like miscarriages and stuff. I have to, because I've never understood, like when they say a woman needs 2.5 kids, where is the 0.5 coming from, honey? Where are you getting that from? It either is or it isn't. But anyway, that's way below replacement levels. So what does the replacement level need to be in the United States? 2,100 births per 1,000 women, which is 2.1. Okay. So the proper replacement rate in the United States is 2.1 births per 1,000 women, and it's currently at 1.70. So basically what that means in layman's terms is if we don't do something quick, the United States will be no more. I don't know how long it would take, maybe 100 years. There will no longer be any United States citizens, basically. They'll be completely phased out. Completely phased out. You know, the old people will get old, and then that's it. So they're very, very concerned about that. And they probably should be. And so I think you should have thought about this a while ago. You should have thought about this when you were setting the price of college, when you were designing housing and how that would work. We talked about this already, but I just think it's such a powerful example to think of. Imagine if a young man, age 21, could go to college or not, and at 21, purchase his first home, a very modest home, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, without jumping through a crazy number of hoops to do so. He's able to pay it off in 15 years, which I still think is too long, but whatever. 15 years, it's paid off. That puts him at 35, 36 years old. Now you have a man who feels probably like he can take care of a family. And the reason I use man instead of woman, of course, I want that for women too. I'm a woman. Y'all know I wanted a house of my own for the longest. But the reason I say that is because we have like such a high number of incels in our society who really are like lost, confused, and hopeless. And I think part of the reason is because they just don't feel like quote unquote real men. They live in apartments or they live with their mothers. They work jobs that aren't quite taking them anywhere or don't pay enough for them to do something like buy a house. So, how could he support a family if he can't even put himself in a house? You see what I mean? But little things like that, making housing more affordable for everybody, should have been doing that. You should have made college like one half the cost of what it currently is. You should have made food food more affordable. You know what I mean? Like health insurance, everything that makes a person feel safe and secure in the world to bring a child into the world. You should have purged these workplaces of narcissists, because that's one thing I think about all the time. I'm like, man, if I had gotten pregnant at any of these jobs, well, see, I don't know. I don't know if things would have gone differently. Maybe they would have treated me differently if I had been pregnant, but I think that's my little cute little optimistic mind coming out. My point is, if everything had held the same, but I had gotten pregnant, like it's scary to think, wow, now I really need health insurance. It's not that I don't need it all the time, but now I really need it. I got a lot of doctor's appointments coming up. I got a major birth coming up. You know what I mean? Like everything has to go right now. And the bosses and leaders and things like that I've dealt with on the job, like I would have been pregnant without a job, basically. So you need to purge these workforces of these psychopathic, narcissistic leaders that make people feel uncomfortable and unstable in their workplace, that make them feel like they can't trust you and therefore can't really settle in and get comfortable. Like I'm of the personal belief that there's only a few people out there who really, really, really like to change jobs often. Only a few. I think most people actually wouldn't mind getting a job either right out of high school, right out of college, and then just naturally progressing through that job. So in the early 20s, you're in the entry level. Toward your late 20s, you're starting to probably move into your first manager role of some kind. Late 30s, now you're going to like mid manager. You know what I mean? And then 40s and upward, now you're gunning for the bigger positions. But you started entry level. Like people should be able to have that kind of trust to know that, hey, I'm with this company. It's a great company. First of all, I really hate the fact that we have to rely on them this much at all, period. Period. But anyway, let me finish the first thought. Hey, I'm with a great company. There's a natural progression that happens easily. I can see it. I can put my hands on it. It's tangible. I see other people that this has worked out for. So I feel safe and I feel comfortable doing something really, truly as risky as bringing another life into this world. Because at least I know my job is relatively secure, relatively, but it's not like that. Currently, like I always tell you guys, you need to treat every job like it's probably going to end, because it probably is. Even those of you who are in those nice, safe careers, you see what's happening to doctors and nurses right now, professors getting completely fired, teachers getting fired. Absolutely. The chat says instead they chose to suck us dry in response to y'all should have been setting all of this up like 20 years ago, if not further back, but definitely at least 20 years ago. Instead, you chose to suck us dry. And now you wonder why we're hesitant to have children. Very hesitant. Like I even look at what the parents are going through right now in the schools, battling over the different curriculums, battling over the masks and mask mandates, battling over just how messed up and how dysfunctional it's all been. Like they'll have school on a Monday, cancel it on a Tuesday, go virtual on a Wednesday. then be back in person on Thursday, but Friday's a holiday though. Like GTFOH, man. I'll homeschool. I don't have time for that. I think we would have a fun little homeschool. We would clear out the garage, get some insulation, some air conditioning or whatever, and we'd make our little homeschool. It'd be fun. We have fun. Anyway, I'm not going through all those changes with you guys. I'm not having these arguments with you. But anyway, now back to my other thought. I really hate the fact that we have to rely on them this much, period. Like my survival depends either on my propping up my own business, which is always highly recommended, but truly most people will end up working for someone else. And I just really hate that. Like we live or die based on our jobs with them. I can't stand that. Because it's not a guarantee. But your life is a guarantee. Like you living is a guarantee, but that job that helps you live is not. Don't get me started. That actually is a different show. I just wanted to let you guys know how much I resent that. I really, really, really do. Oh, interesting. The chat says they need your kids to go invade countries for them. They need your kids for war. Right. I forgot about war. How could I forget war? I'm sitting here thinking about jobs and consumers. How could I forget about war? Right. Wartime. So they must be planning one in what, 16 to 18 years? So, it's something to think about. It really, really is. But that's pretty much the whole show, you guys. Not a super long one today. Got you a little length in there, though. But I think, once again, it's super important for us to guard all of our rights at all times. Pay close attention, because I do think this is what they're trying to create. And here's what else makes me think that. Sorry, I was just about to wrap up, but I have one more thought for you. As I listen to the toxic content creators of the manosphere, it seems to me that they are literally trying to train out empathy, and they are trying to train out compassion, and they're trying to train out emotion, almost like they're trying to train out, almost like they're trying to train hollow soldiers, emotionless soldiers who can kill on sight. Because a long time ago, they were taught to let go of their emotions. So how does that relate to all of this? Well, it seems to me that they are trying to create a society where basically people wouldn't be horrified anymore. So the idea of forcing a woman to get pregnant and forcing her to have the baby is horrifying, as it should be. Like, hopefully that always remains horrifying for you. And that's my exact point. I feel like they are trying to handcraft emotionless, hollow soldiers who would be able to carry this out ultimately, who'd be able to forcibly grab a woman, take her back to the facility, handcuff her to the bed, you know what I mean? And not impregnate her themselves. They probably have a very elaborate turkey baster type system, basically, where it's like less than 30 seconds. So that's how they'll sell it to you. Like, why is everyone so upset? We can make the pregnancy happen in less than 30 seconds. Less than 30 seconds, boom, it's done, and then they let you go. You know what I mean? And who would be better able to do that than a mass army of people who believe, yeah, you know what? She's just a whore anyway, who's trying to evade responsibilities as a woman. So come here, you whore, and let me forcibly impregnate you at the facility so you can do what you're supposed to do as a woman. So you can do your duty as a female. That's all you're good for anyway. You guys think I'm joking. Like, literally, like when I go into the comment threads, like if somebody writes more than 3 sentences, they reply with, bro, you're using your emotions, bro. Get out of your emotions, bro. And into your head, bro. Get out of your emotions. And the thing is, We have emotions for a reason. They're supposed to be educators. Your emotions are supposed to educate you regarding certain things. You're not supposed to ignore them. Now, are you supposed to act on your emotions all the time? No. Your emotions are supposed to be a guide and a tool. For example, if something is upsetting to you, upset is an emotion. But if you trained yourself to ignore your emotions, then you'll train yourself to ignore when you're actually upset about something. Do you see what I mean? And eventually, you'll train yourself out of compassion, and you'll train yourself out of empathy, and you'll train yourself out of right and wrong. So I say all this to say it's like they're gearing up for something. I feel like they're gearing up for something. And part of that something is going to require a large number of people who really don't feel anymore and can like look at somebody crying and feel nothing, or tell themselves a story that makes them feel better about this person in front of them crying. Like, oh, she probably deserves this. Oh, she probably cheated on her boyfriend at some point in time in her life, so she deserves this. Oh, well, you probably had a good man at some point in time in your life, but you didn't respect him and you didn't trust him and you didn't love him. And so you're out there being a whore for Chad and Tyrone. And now you're here at this facility asking me not to forcibly impregnate you, but you deserve this because if you were a married woman, then you wouldn't even be here. Ooh, what if they make that requirement? Like if you're married, you're not forced. Just keep working on it. Like just keep trying to have kids, but we won't force you if you're married. What if it's unmarried women will be forced to have kids? Well, that just made it 10 times easier for this crop that I'm talking about. Yeah, it's dark. Very dark. 10 times easier. Well, if you were married and you had done what you're supposed to do and be a good girl and respect the man that loved you when he first told you that he loved you, then you would have been married and you would have been safe from all this. But no, you wanted feminism and you wanted to be a whore and you wanted to go out there and be in the streets. And if you hadn't done that, you would have been a mom with kids already and you wouldn't be here. I know this is a lot for early morning. And I know this sounds crazy and super far out there. I know it does. I know it does, y'all. But let's check in 1 year from the date of this video and see how we're doing. Because again, like in regard to the haircut, when that all first started happening, I thought the extent of the argument would be whether or not masks would still be required now that people are vaccinated. Like I thought that would be the extent of the argument. Like we would still be battling over masks. Never thought we'd be battling over people's right to take the haircut or not, but we are. And because that's so basic and fundamental, to me, something like this is even more basic than that as far as a basic right. But it seems that we have no problem treading on basic rights now. Yeah, welcome to Gilead. Exactly. So you guys pay attention, fight for your rights, stand up for yourself always, push back always. You guys see that it's working in regard to these haircuts and things like that. You see that it's working. But women in particular, I don't know if some of you really know the extent of the battle that's being fought at the ground level right now regarding this gender war and what's being said and taught about women right now, but it's really, really bad, you guys. It's bad. And I tell you that to let you know that a reality like this is not necessarily far-fetched, because they already often in these spaces discuss things like taking women's voting rights away because they don't think that we're responsible enough to vote. They discuss things like that. Some of them in some of the spaces feel like it's a man's right to kind of basically caveman a woman, basically. The only rule is that she can't be somebody's wife. So you can't caveman someone else's wife. That's against the rules. But they just don't understand why they can't just knock you over the head and take you home. Because to them, that is their most basic animalistic right. You see what I mean? To capture you and drag you back to the cave. Why can't I do that to you? Why not? Like, they feel restricted, is what I'm trying to tell you. Many of them feel repressed and they feel restricted right now. They feel like they're not allowed to just snatch you, run their hand up your skirt, kiss you, and then walk away. They feel like that's their right. So when you have a group of people who feel like it's their right to do with you what they will, something like this is not far off. Because again, like I told you a live stream or two ago, to some of them, you having a baby attached to you is the greatest punishment they could ever inflict upon you. The greatest punishment they could ever offer you. So, this isn't far-fetched. It's not too far gone at all. So I feel like we've seen the strangest thing in our society. So this would just be a little less strange than that. Whew, this is a lot for early morning. I need to do more early morning streams. I think my neurons are like either perfectly arranged or getting ready to rearrange, to dearrange, one or the other. And things work well early morning. So maybe I need to do them more. But anyway, that's pretty much it, you guys. That's all I wanted to share with you this morning. Wanted to make sure we touched on that article while it was still fresh. It will be very interesting to see the coverage of that as people discover it throughout the day and throughout the rest of the week. Because I'm curious what Elon's plan is. It's like, okay, well, Ellen, darling, you have like billions of dollars. Cough some of that up. Like, we need help. You know what I mean? Like, can we get like a starter kit, like a starter pack, $100,000 tax-free check, a new home of our choosing, a closet full of baby clothes and shoes, like an entire, no, that's not enough. I was going to say a dresser full of diapers. We're going to need more than that. Like a garage full of diapers in that same brand new house. Can we get some paid for private schooling? All healthcare and health related appointments covered. All. all. At 100%. Like, can we get that? Can we get their college paid for ahead of time? Like, they just kind of have a reserve spot in college because it's already been paid for. And can we lock in today's rates? Because we already know that by the time this crew is old enough to go to college, the price of college will be the cost of a house. Wait, it already is. Sorry. Dang, I don't even know what to compare it to. What, a Ferrari? How much is a Ferrari? I don't know. So can we lock in today's rates? Yeah. Awesome. You got to sweeten the pot. Got to sweeten the pot, Elon. And can we choose the man? And can we only select attractive? Fine. Never mind. Anyway, you guys, thank you for joining me this morning. I appreciate you all so much. I should be back on one of these channels here very, very soon. Who knows which one it'll be. But I appreciate you all. Happy 1K. Thank you all so much for your support through these years. We've been here a long time, y'all. Long, long time. I think I started doing this one in 2017. So the growth has been incredibly slow. So I appreciate every single one of you who have hung in there with me and been there with me from day one. Okay? So I appreciate that. And let's see what other milestones we can reach together. Okay? But think about this. Spend some time in thought on this. And we'll be back again very, very soon, probably with a haircut update. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.